Welcome back. Joining us today, Brianna Mittelsteadt from Red Door Pediatric Therapy in Bismarck. We are talking about touch sensitivity and how it impacts kids. I think we got to start out with, welcome to the show, by the way.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks for having me.
We got to start out with the explanation of what it is.
Right. So tactile or touch sensitivity just refers to how our body interprets the sensation of touch. We have many sensory systems in our body, and touch is one of them. Sometimes kiddos and even adults have touch or tactile sensitivity, which then impacts a variety of tasks, but especially some self-care tasks.
This means they don't like to be touched, they don't like to touch things?
It depends. Sometimes it's either. They can be touch defensive, where yes, they don't want to be touched, or they can seek that touch where they are seeking that deep pressure input or messy play.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So what do you, when you, if a parent suspects this, what might they notice?
Sure. So for instance, with some self-care tasks, if they are sensitive to brushing teeth, one may see a kiddo biting the toothbrush or totally just avoiding the task altogether. They might not want the toothbrush or toothpaste in their mouth. For kiddos that are bathing defensive, so they may scream or try to run away when it's bath time. They may cry, yell when washing their body and face overall.
That could be very upsetting.
Yeah, and sometimes it's very stressful for kiddos as well as parents. They just dread that whole process.
And what can parents do to sort of help out with all of this?
Yeah, so there's a variety of strategies. Not every kiddo is the same, so it just depends on what kiddo it is and what you're working with. Some strategies work for some and not for others. So for instance, for brushing teeth, we provide a lot of visual supports for the kiddos. So a picture of the mouth, and then having the parents count to 10 when brushing the kiddo's teeth, or having the kid brush first and then the parent. Sometimes providing deep pressure to the shoulders or the cheeks helps them to kind of desensitize prior to brushing.
So it sounds to me like this is the kind of thing where you really need to get some professional help.
Yeah, for sure. Just some strategies in place, and then it makes it a little bit more successful. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now what if a child is, like, vice versa of the brushing the teeth, they are searching for that touch? What can parents do? Maybe it gets a little bit too touchy.
Too touchy? Yeah. So obviously teaching kiddos professional, just boundaries in general. Sometimes when they're with their peers, they may be a little bit too touchy, and teaching them when it's okay to touch their peers and how to be gentle and use gentle hands.
Yep.
Kiddos that are seeking some input, like give them activities like playing in soapy water or bean bins or playing in paint. That sometimes is helpful. They're seeking that extra input too.
Obviously playing with paint is
your forte.
Some people are just natural touchers though, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with that.
No, definitely not. For sure, definitely not. It's just when we're definitely looking for those kids that are very sensitive to touch, which impacts the completion of self-care tasks. We don't want to make it a negative impact.
Right. So if I'm with my child and they're so different from my other kids, like that, you know, don't touch me, whatever, I would worry that there's something seriously wrong.
Right. Which is not necessarily the case. They may just have some sensory processing difficulties that we need to work through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is something that you can
for sure.
learn to overcome, or at least deal with.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the most common thing you see when it comes to this?
A lot of kiddos is the brushing the teeth or the trimming nails and haircuts. That's very tricky for kiddos. They may just run away or avoid or cry the whole process, and that's very stressful for parents too if they're having to hold their kid down to trim their fingernails or beg them to sit still when completing a haircut. Sometimes we'll get picky eaters or kiddos that are very sensitive to clothing, and they'll only wear specific clothes, which makes it hard when it comes to season changes, or they don't want to wear jeans.
Right.
Can you carry it into adulthood?
Yeah. For sure. For instance, I'm very tactile and touch defensive when it comes to some of that messy stuff. Like, I would rather not get my hands dirty and play with paint or whatever it may be. And as an adult, you just kind of learn to cope with it. And I probably should have received OT as a kid for myself.
Right. Okay. So if somebody has questions about this, they need a little bit of advice, where should they go?
Yeah, they can find us at Red Door Pediatric Therapy in Bismarck or in our Minot clinic. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
I think this could be really helpful for parents who have some of these issues. All right. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, guys.
We will wrap things up when we come back.